history. It was founded by a coach.
Absolutely. So we have two co-founders, Phil Bowerman, legendary track and field coach at the University of Oregon, and Phil Knight, who was one of his athletes. So Nike was really born out of that relationship between a coach and an athlete. And everything we do today, whether it's in our retail environment, we don't have managers, we have head coaches. Our team meetings are huddles. When we plan and do our business planning, we set out a goal, and then we work toward it. We celebrate that success, or we look at the real and say, hey, what did we learn from that? How do we make ourselves better? So it's really infused in our DNA. To the point that our mission statement is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. We have an asterisk on the word athlete that says, if you have a body, you're an athlete.
You get some shoes, you get some shoes, you get some shoes. That's what I want to hear. Let me ask you, Eddie, how did you first get into coaching and how did you approach coaching?
You know, I'm actually a product of an excellent coach that actually, I'll say he raised me. When I was 17 years old, junior in high school, I guess you'd call it a little bit of a lost soul. My father passed away when I was 9 years old, so I had no direction in life. I didn't know where I was headed. It was a teacher coach who one day took me under his wing, and he helped me become the person that I am today. He gave me a great deal of confidence, taught me leadership skills, and taught me a lot of things that I now use to coach our nation's youth that I think kids need when they either go out to the workplace, relationships with their friends and spouses and so on. And I really believe that if it wasn't for this teacher coach who didn't really even need to put any type of interest in me, I wouldn't be here on this panel with all of you here today. He made me want.
Before I get to you, Brandy, Eddie, we talked about your disability, a word you say is fine to use to describe. So much about yourself is coaching. What's the reaction from kids? What do they learn from you? What kind of expectations must they have? And just some ideas preconceived ideas coming in about your disability and how can he help us?
Well, it's kind of hard. I usually begin with a parent meeting, and most of the time I don't tell them that I have a bit of a disability, and it's kind of done on purpose because when I speak to them over the phone, they can't see a disability. They hear a coach who I want to believe the coach knows what he's talking about, and then I show up, and to their surprise, it's like, you're going to be coaching our kid? And what ends up happening is after spending maybe 10, 15 minutes with the parents, explaining them my philosophies and my goals, and basically I never promised parents that our team is going to win. I always promise that the kid's going to be better than they were when they first began. And I believe that if you make every kid better than they were when they first arrived to you, the wins and losses will take care of themselves. And that's kind of the way.
I just,
to be role models. So my dad showed me right away that he was willing to be vulnerable and take a risk. And so that gave me a lot of confidence that I could go out there and make mistakes and that I would fall down, but I'd have to get back up. And so I think that's a great quality that I've now taken away in my coaching. I think too is that teams are families and that we have to care about each other. It's not just the wins and losses like we talk about. Those things will take care of each other, of themselves when the information is shared and learned. And so we have to be vulnerable. We will be vulnerable in our families, but we have to love each other. We have to care about each other. And ultimately, sports are fun. At the end of the day, I didn't start playing soccer because I thought I would be a professional. Olympics didn't exist for women's soccer. World Cups didn't exist for women's soccer. And Title IX had been enacted after I was born. So these things were, these were things that came after I fell in love with sports. And because I had coaches that actually cared beyond my father, I had really good coaches. And some of them were different. Some were big talkers, others were through action, some were through encouragement. But I think they gave me the ability to kind of pick and choose and use the things that really would help me become the player and person I want to be.
All right, let's move to just expectations. We know expectations, coaches professionally. What about youth coaches? What should we expect from them?
Sure. So I think even the way you frame the question is very important. You have to reset the expectations from youth coaching to adult sport coaching. So when we're talking about 6 to 12 years of age, this is about having fun, as Randy was saying. That's the age where you fall in love with sports. That's the age where you want to have those early positive experiences to really have that free play, really have fun and enjoy it, because that's where you form those habits. So I think the training of coaches in that environment, 6 to 12, Eddie has a fantastic example of that as well. And I'm sure we all do. We've all had coaches in our lives, whether they were fantastic experiences or not so great experiences. But how do we work with coaches and with those who train coaches to make sure that when we're talking about that age range from 6 to 12, it's really about having fun, getting out there, being active, and really enjoying it so they fall in love with the pure, sheer joy of sport.
Self-esteem, that.
Oh, absolutely.
That
There's so many things that
incredible.
We've heard it throughout the week. Active kids do better. Fantastic. How do we get kids to be active? That 6 to 12-year range is absolutely key.
Eddie, I just wanted to know from you about continuing on with that conversation. Passion. Passion doesn't necessarily just have to come from the youth and their athletic ability. What if they just aren't very good? How do you coach everybody at the same level?
Consistency. What I end up doing is that, for example, on my basketball team, I know when I coach the 8-year-olds, not everyone's going to come with the same athletic ability, but I'm just consistent in trying to develop pretty much the same skills that I know will give them a sense of confidence. So it may not be dribbling, it may be playing defense. I try to find that right, I'm not too sure the word, but I'm just trying to find what they do well and try to build on that so that they leave Coach Eddie with a sense of confidence that they didn't have when we first began.
Brittany, let me ask you, your training that you got early on from your father, how did that help you in terms of,
sports for young people should not be about what professional career they're going to have. It's about who they are going to become. And the culture needs to be, for all of us, to help them find out who they are and what they want to be, and then foster that. Not, you're going to be a baseball player, you're going to be a football player, and you're going to be lacrosse, and it's going to be basketball. So for me, the coach has to see what they do well, encourage them, but also get them to see that they can push their limits and try other things. Really, I didn't play soccer only until I was a senior in high school. It's hard to find kids out there that play multiple sports, and it's a shame.
I was a bit of an athlete coming up in
I
school.
know.
Like, it was every sport. Any sport I could get my hands on, I just could not wait to go to practice. Practice and recess. Remember those days? Recess was my favorite. Easily.
We talked to some kids earlier this week, and 12, 13-year-old, and we asked about sport and how they got involved in sport. They said they tried a bunch of different sports and they experimented with sport. And what he realized was he wasn't great necessarily in that team sports setting, and it set him on a path to be a fantastic fencer, because he found out about himself through that process. And that's exactly what that time, that 6 to 12 years of age, is so key to develop that confidence and see what do I connect with so that I can have a lifetime of joy.
Stephen, let me ask you about leadership. That's required of you every single day. What should be some of the leadership qualities as it relates to finding great coaches in youth sports?
Well, I think sports plays such a huge role in developing leadership. So for me, my leadership journey started on the football field and on the wrestling mat, and then it led to West Point and to the Army and now to where I am. And kind of the qualities that you pick up along the way, working harder than the next guy, leading by example. So, you can't show up as the platoon leader or the captain of the football team and not be ready to do everything that you're going to ask of your team. So always be ready to ask kind of more of yourself than what you're going to ask from your team. Kind of all those principles, which are fairly straightforward and fairly simple, I've kind of taken with me through my whole life, my whole career, and also it started with sports, and it started with a great coach.
It really does. And I think you're a great example of that. What, 17 years you were involved with coaching. Does the leadership that's required of that ever stop, slow?
No, not at all. I think it's just as coaches to be able to train these kids to be leaders, so that later on in life they gain those life skills to go out into the workforce and well, be the next generation of leaders. Well, basically the ability to be, I would say, such as self-motivation. One of the things that I do is we're basically all my practices are timed in segments, and I don't have to say a thing. I can actually show up about 45 minutes into the practice, and the practice will already have led itself. The kids jump in there. It's not just like one leader; it's multiple leaders that are just stepping up. Hey, time to go, and they start doing all the drills. But that's the culture. That's the culture that I built. And like you guys were all saying, you build that culture. And one of the first things that I do, at least, is I try to build a team culture. And the way we begin is I always tell the kids, you always begin with your 3 H's. And the 3 H's basically is you have to go, you huddle together as a team, and you have to give one of the 3 H's, a handshake, a high five, or a hug. But in my case, I have to give a chicken wing. But basically, the reason why I do that, I begin with that, is because, in life, you're going to work with people that you care about, and then at times you're going to have coworkers that you're just not too fond of. But the idea is that you still have to work together as a team. And so that's why you extend one of the 3 H's, because some of you may be huggers, and some of you may be just, I just want to touch you from a distance. And those kind of things is the same thing. And I explain all this. I verbally tell the kids, this is why we do this. It's a sign of acceptance. What you do here while you're a team, on the court, on the soccer field, you are a team. You may not be the best friends outside, but here, that's the culture that we're developing so that we can be better. And in the end, we end with a saying that's, they get together, they lick their fingers, and they say, together we win, together we lose, but no matter what, together we're better. And that's all my teams. I've been doing this for 17 years, and that's something that I've built.
What ultimately shaped you when it comes to your athletic career? The athlete and the person. Two different things?
I think there are two different things that have collided. I think the things that I've learned on the field have helped me manage the things that maybe were intrinsic to me, maybe my competitiveness, my internal drive. How do I focus that in the right way? How do I use it to its best ability? But I think also how those things have helped me off the field. I'm a parent of an 8-year-old who's a wonderful young boy, but he's 8 years old, and I coach his under 19, and they all want to just do this all day long. And you're trying to teach something. So now I'm trying to rein in my competitiveness, and I'm trying to say, let's have fun, and let's do these fun, So I have to, as a coach, and as a competitor, know how to meld those things and make it work for the group that I'm working with. I do under 9 boys, I coach high school boys, so this has been an interesting experience for me my first year. I went out there from the perspective of teams care about each other, from the female perspective, that we're all up into each other's business and we know what's going on. And then I come to this environment and we have a boy not show up to practice, and we hadn't heard from him. And I asked his teammates, "Where's Patrick?" And I was like, I don't know. Oh, the girls would not, they would be on the phone, they would know what Patrick's doing, is it okay? And so, for me, as a coach, what I learned that we take care of each other differently. And so now I'm bringing a perspective to a young men's environment that maybe didn't exist before. You know, if you don't see one of your teammates, find out where he is. Is he okay? Because we want to make sure he's okay first before he, you know, we want him to score a goal, but we want to make sure he's okay. So we're going to take care of each other. So for me, I think it's melding the person that I am, and the competitor that I am on the field, and how can I make those synthesize in a way that is positive.
Great answer. Appreciate that.
I'm curious about, start with you, Steve, just how critical it is to have, like Brandy and Eddie, that positive coach. How do you know, how do you spot a good coach and ultimately a bad coach? Give you the positive, give our kids the negative.
Look, anybody that's volunteering their time and getting out there with kids to make a difference, I'm going to put them in the good category, even if they're maybe not the best possible coach they can be. You know, kids need that. They need, and I've seen in the programs that we've launched across the country, trajectories of young lives change dramatically because of the intervention of a great coach. And to me, that's what kind of makes it all worth it. And for us, what we're just trying to do is make a movement out of that, right? The power of small numbers. It starts with one coach that impacts 10 people. 10 of those kids, one of them might come back and then become a coach themselves. And that's how we propagate this. And I think bring on big incremental change through the power of one coach.
Well, hey, let me ask you about your personal experience with coaching. The contact that you've had with coaches.
So, you know, in the last couple of years at Nike, one great example is we have something called the Special Olympics Oregon Youth Games at our corporate headquarters. It's the #1 volunteer employee event at Nike World Headquarters. And we bring in Special Olympians to fall in love with sport at Nike. What a better place to fall in love with sport than a Nike campus. It's amazing. And we have 500 employees who are trained to give those experiences. And we had it in September. We held it in September. I brought my kids to that because I want them to not only be surrounded by one coach, but by 500 coaches, and see all these athletes and see what's possible, and just have this amazing experience. And that for me, being a rookie at Nike, again using our sports analogies, but being a rookie at Nike, seeing that power of sport not only in the office, but on the field and with our neighbors, is absolutely incredible. I see it every day in our retail environment. Last fiscal year, we had a goal of having our retail employees provide early positive experiences through coaching for 100,000 kids. This fiscal year, 400,000 kids. So you see that in the store communities where the stores are partnering up with either a Let's Move Active School, a community program, and you see the smiles on their faces. I just received a text earlier today. We did one of these trainings with kids, and the kids wrote letters back to Nike. And it's just the most beautiful thing. It's the kind of thing that reminds you you're on the right path, you're doing something really, really good.
I don't really coach, but the impact that Athletic Academy, as a young girl, I'll never forget it. My dad was in the military, so we moved from place to place to place. But because I was an athlete, I'd always have this instant click, whether it's the basketball team or the volleyball team. But one coach in particular, because we were about to move, as we always did almost every 2 years, wrote a letter for me to give to the next coach. And it used the word potential. And that was a life-changing moment for me. I'll never forget that moment and just the importance of just coaching. And we hope you learned a lot today. There are good coaches, there are great coaches, and there are, not so good coaches. And there are also parents who don't need to be out there with their kids because they don't have that boundary. Why isn't my kid in the game?
But I would be remiss if I didn't add one thing. The majority, meaning when I say majority, I'm going to use a very 99% of kids out there are not going to go on to be professionals or Olympians or World Cup champions. So really, what is it that we hope for when our kids go out to those playing fields? And let's keep in mind, all of us parents, I speak to myself too, that the experience is our children's experience. And for us, the most important thing is that they go out there and they have a healthy experience, a positive one that helps them foster this confidence that they're going to need the rest of their lives. Let's be the role models and the leaders that our kids need on the sideline as well. Because if our kids see us being good on the sideline, they can be great on the playing field. And
I don't know how long we're supposed to go, but I'm very interested in what we have here. This is called the power of the coach. Finish this. What should be the power of a coach?
You know, I really think we have more power than you can imagine to influence not just the children, but the parents. One of the things that I incorporate and I absolutely encourage without a doubt is parent participation at my practices. At practices. If you've ever seen the movie Field of Dreams, the famous scene of the dad coming back and playing catch with his son, I tell the parents, come out here, bring your glove, play catch with your child, and let's do this together. This is a family thing. And I can't tell you how many times that the following year, that parent who's on the sidelines that just comes to the practice is now coaching against me, using the same philosophies against me. And what's worse is sometimes they're kicking my butt with my own stuff. So, I mean, but you know what, I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as they took some of the ideas that I presented to them, and now they're doing wonderful things just as well. I mean, if there's such a thing as a Eddie Garcia coaching tree, that's kind of the idea. I'm very blessed when I see a parent that I'm now coaching against, and he just tells me, "You were right. I love your ideas, and I keep using them." And so not just your former players that come back as coaches, but also the parents who come back as coaches. And I just love that. I just think we need that. And I think we need more training, because I think there's a lot of great meaning parents that do want to coach that just may not have that proper training that they may need to do just the little extra details. Because I mean, there's things that have to be done, like the way you encourage a kid. I was taught not too long ago how to talk to a kid when fielding a ground ball. If you tell the kid, don't make an error, don't make an error, don't make an error. Well, guess what's in their head? I don't want to make an error. Instead you change the wording and you say, make the play, make the play. So guess what the mentality is? I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get that out. So those subtle little things, I mean, to me, it's almost common sense, but it's not really common sense when you haven't been trained to be able to talk to kids that way. And those are the things that I teach parents. I'm very vocal, and I tell the parents all my tricks. I'm not trying to hide anything. I want people to be better after getting to know me.
You guys need to raise your game a little bit here. Star of the show. I want to turn to this hat because I think we're supposed to wrap this up. What should the power of coaching be? What is it in your estimation? What is it that you take from Nike and to Nike?
I think it's all about inspiration. It's about inspiring. So, we're all here talking about Partnership for Healthier America. The bedrock of that is being physically active. If you don't know how to be physically active, you don't enjoy being physically active, by definition, you're not going to be healthy. So I think coaches being able to inspire kids to have fun and enjoy sport and enjoy physical activity and start that love affair, that's one of the important things.
You get a car, you get a car. I heard what you say those words.
But you can talk about the power of coaching with your background and West Point, just what it takes to be successful. And when you talk about coaches in that standpoint, coaches in an early part of a young person's life have power.
Sure. And for me, the model of a leader is a coach, a great coach who cares about his players, understands ways to motivate them and bring out the best in them. I mean, to me, the most important things is caring, number one, because you've got to care, because if you don't care, you're not going to try to find the best and ultimately make them better. That's what great leaders do, that's what great coaches do. So I honestly use leader and coach synonymously.
What'd you learn today? Good things, I hope. The power of coaching. That's what we wanted to discuss, and we hope you can take some of the information that we were able to present today and incorporate it in your life, and incorporate it in your children's life, and also just be there and understand what we're trying to accomplish with young people, particularly as it pertains to obesity. There is a stat out there pertaining to sports in New Orleans. 95% of the participants who take part in organizational sports, 95% are boys. Boys. And we know that girls benefit so greatly from sports and just the self-esteem that it builds. So for your girl and for your boy, just understand that self-esteem is critical for that, but moving, being healthy, starts at home. So we thank you so much, Steve, Jorge, Brandy, and the star of the show, Eddie. We thank you so much for explaining all of that and being a part of this. So we hope you enjoy it.
And now,